The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster by, good afternoon. We're on Open Line, Mannin Line today till 1 o'clock. Text 166 177. You can WhatsApp on the same number. Email studio at manxradio.com or call 66 13 68. Progression, not regression, apparently, is what we need. We need the economy to be firing on all cylinders. However, getting people here, the Isle of Man is particularly unattractive for single people. The economic environment particularly unattractive for single people. The Economic Policy Review Committee said it's primarily attractive to those people earning over £60,000 per year. Serious barriers to population growth, and that's of course the stated aim, to get the population to 100,000. They took a look at the government's economic strategy, which is part of the Island Plan. Over the course of the last several months, they've heard evidence from Treasury, Chief Minister, Manx Development Corporation. Blimey, how'd they get them there? Department for Enterprise, the Isle of Man Chamber of Commerce, KPMG, private business owners, and Customs and Immigration. And, well, it's just not very attractive to people earning under £60,000 per year and unattractive for single people, which would seem to put the mockers on it, to be quite honest. How are you going to attract people if the finances simply don't stack up, if somebody's looking to make a new start? If you've got any thoughts on this, then by all means do get in touch. And particularly single people would tend to be people who would like a social life, because they're not a couple. And, well, lots of stuff in hospitality is closed down. I mean, it happens in the UK as well, but on the Isle of Man we have far, far fewer nightclubs than there ever used to be. No nightclub, really. South of Douglas, is there a nightclub? It used to be half a dozen, and successful ones. So what do we do for this? Is there a solution to how you can do this? Text, email, call, WhatsApp. I mentioned these bikes, by the way. Police want help tracing bikes stolen in the Douglas area. They reckon a series of bikes stolen over a period of several months have been sold on social media. The constabulary is investigating a spate of thefts in Douglas between June and earlier this year. A number of bikes remain missing, and they believe they may have been advertised and sold using Facebook Marketplace. I thought you could, presumably everybody would postcode stamp their bikes or put some sort of security marking on it. Anyway, if you go to the constabulary's Facebook page, they've got details of all the bikes. But it's the Isle of Man. I mean, bikes have been stolen in the past, but this is quite a few bikes, a series of bikes, and, decent ones. Costly bikes have been stolen. You wonder really what's happening and why people would do that. It used to be that you didn't have to lock your bike up. You could leave it and it would be there when you came back. As obviously in other places, in big cities across, you simply have to lock your bike up. It's foolish to leave your bicycle unattended. But anyway, any thoughts on that? Like to hear from you. Text, email, call and WhatsApp if you have something to say. Robert's on now. Hi, Robert.
Oh, straight on this time. How are you?
Very well, thanks. We're just waiting for you, Robert.
Yeah, I snapped my ankle, but I'm doing okay. I've been pointed in the right direction. I went up to A&E to get a crutch, so they did help me out today.
Very good.
So, yeah, the question was about social housing. It seems to be, is it gaslighting or something like that? That it seems they want to increase the population to, what was the figure?
100,000. They want 100,000.
Yeah,
they want an extra 4,000 workers.
Yeah, let's all sing and dance about 100,000 people coming to the Isle of Man. Isn't that a joyous exposition?
Well, it's an extra 15,000 they want here. We're 85,000 at the moment. They want an extra 15,000 people here.
Yeah, I mean, good luck to them. But I mean, in terms of like where we're at with social housing and things like that, it just seems to be the will of Tynwald isn't there. I don't know if I'm crossing too many lines or rocking too many boats, but we just seem to be living in a dream world.
In what way? Do you mean that Tynwald doesn't seem to want to build social housing, Robert?
Well, maybe I'm wrong, and I'll accept that if I am. But let's just think about it for a minute. You've got all of these people who've got, loads of jobs and like consultants at the NHS or Manx Care, whatever it's called. And you've got all of these people coming over doing these specific roles. They want to move here, they want to set up, they want to get themselves sorted. I've no problem with that. That's a good move. But in terms of like actual, spades in the ground, it seems to be, well, we'll just defer this to a committee, we'll put it on a forum, not a forum, we'll put it on a report, David Ashford, things like that, and it just seems to be a joke. The whole thing just seems to be a complete and utter farce.
And is this affecting you personally,
I'm annoyed
Robert?
with it. I don't know if it's the pain in my ankle that's just focusing me or whatever. But I mean, and I speak out, and sometimes I do speak out of turn. I'm sorry for that. I apologise for that.
No, you got a right to.
I think I'm right on this.
Okay.
I think I'm right on this issue. I think I'm right. I think that, I think it's, I mean, it's, if I was to say it was a Tory government, then that would be a bit too harsh. But I mean, it's just the macabre of the whole thing. And we're getting into winter now, and we've got all of this to come forward. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, when's this going to end? When are we actually going to get some spades in the ground and actually get things going forward? What do you think about that?
Well, not my opinion, to be quite honest. My opinion's neither here nor there. It's what people think, really. And do you think, does this affect you personally?
I'm okay, I'm sorted. But I mean, there are young people coming up now and people on housing waiting lists and things like that. I see people who are in emergency accommodation because they've just got out of prison. I've never been in prison and I've never done anything wrong. But in terms of like, that's neither here nor there, but I've never, there are people coming out of prison at the moment who've actually, put themselves to a disadvantage by going into hotels and getting emergency accommodation.
And not only that, Robert, but that's more expensive to the taxpayer. I think Devon Watson, when he was on a couple of weeks ago, said if we had social housing, you wouldn't need to be shoveling money towards, B&Bs and hotels and what have you. It's cheaper to put people, bluntly, to get people social housing than to fund it that way.
And I agree with you there, Andy. I agree with you there. But the fact is, we don't seem to have any actual, meaningful, projections going out from Tynwald to actually get this problem sorted, because we've got a young, population coming up now. If they go off island, they go to university, that's great. But what about the people who don't? What about the people who are left or not? They just get added to the waiting list, and the waiting list increases all the time.
Okay. All right. Point taken, Robert. Appreciate it. Thanks for calling.
It was just something on Isle of Man politics website that someone held me up on, but thanks, you've got to move on.
Good to hear from you. 12:15. Tonight, the proposed permanent closure of Castletown Market Square is the subject of a public meeting at Morton Hall in Castletown, 7:30 tonight, regarding this. John Kringle's going to be former chair of Castletown Commissioners, John Kringle, Richard Ronan and Tony Brown, former MHK's Tony Brown, former Chief Minister. And if you want to go, it's there, 7:30 at Morton Hall. I got a note yesterday which says, Andy, the Castletown situation, this is texted 951, just said the Castletown situation. I was there yesterday. The town, Castletown, was deserted. Well, this got sent last thing yesterday, so you're talking about Tuesday then. I went to one little shop, was talking to the owner about the square being shut all year. He agrees, perhaps close it in summer, but not in winter. And with my sale, says this texter, he'd taken £22 the whole day. Eddie's on now. Hi, Eddie.
Hey, Andy. All right, mate?
Good, thanks, yeah.
Yep. I don't know about Castletown being dead, but the whole island is dead, really, isn't it? Which gets me on to the point of your news item from the Economic Review Committee, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're only saying what we've all known for so long, honestly. It's the main issue, I think, with the whole Isle of Man is the direction of the government we've got. They are just hell-bent on going in one direction only. Whether it's the wind turbines we're talking about, whether it's the boats, you name it, it just doesn't alter. And no matter what, they had all these sessions not long back. And what did they call it? Listening to the public? They haven't listened. They never will. In my opinion, we've just got to change the government. This net zero, it needs scrapping. Everybody I talk to says the same thing. Why are we going down that line? We are not going to make a ha'porth of difference in the whole world. I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, the COP29. Waste of time having it. The rest of the world is not listening either when it comes down to being green. They have realised that anybody that mentions this word, we're going to go green, it's corrupt. There's just to give you an instant recently, there is some guy, I think he's an Indian guy, he's a multi-billionaire. He's just been charged recently, I think it's a Lani group or something like that, just been charged with bribery, corruption and fraud. Now, he is involved with not just mining and everything, but renewables, right, in a big way. The other one is in Canada somewhere. There's a recent court case about to get underway about corruption to do with the quality control standards of blades. They have been found to be falsified. We've also got another thing which is going on at the moment, which is a member of the American Air Force has become a whistleblower and has actually given lots of evidence now in respect of experimental weather things that they've been doing up in the upper atmosphere. And they've been pumping in all the chemicals that we all don't want to try and alter the weather patterns. Everything you look at the moment is corruption everywhere you go. And I've been studying just this wind farm for the last 2.5 years plus, and I cannot see anything but corruption with this one.
When you say corruption, maybe specifically, what do you mean, Eddie?
Well, the corruption is this. We're going, right from the minute I said we're going in one direction only. Now, if we had a government that listened, it would try all the different things, but they're only going down one track, right? And they seem hell-bent in doing it, even though we do not want it. I have found 32 reasons why it's not green and not good for the environment, which I'm going to try and expose it to the whole public. The 32 reasons. I wonder if everybody, if they read the 32 reasons, would they say, oh, I'm still for green wind power? I'll bet they wouldn't, if only they know. The trouble is people don't know out there, and the government, when I say about corruption, there has got to be something corrupt going on in our government for them to keep going down the one direction and not looking at everything else. We've got so many other renewables. Let's look at them all, but they're only looking at one. And I think that one has been exposed. There was a fantastic thing on Granada television last night. Did you see it?
No, what was it about?
About the Isle of Man, about Erstein.
And what was the gist of it?
Well, there was 2 or 3 really good points about why it shouldn't go there, but one thing that two people already this morning have pointed out to me is I didn't realise it had gone up to £40 million already. And I said, well, it doesn't have to stop there. It could go further and further yet. But what we need from our government now is a change of direction. That's all we want. Everybody out here wants a change of direction. Scrap net zero being number one priority.
And if they scrap that, I mean, are you talking about Eristane, or are you talking about the offshore wind farm as well, the Ørsted one?
I don't. Well, you've just got Michelle Hayward is in the news a bit recently. She's been swapped jobs, hasn't she? Now, she is a deep sea diver, so she knows all about the sea and how the slightest thing can interfere with it. Now, it's been proved already that the particles from these wind turbines at sea are polluting the sea faster than we could. You know, it's just a ridiculous thing to go all the way along the line. Nowhere in the world is a cheaper electricity from wind turbines. It's a business. It's a business which makes trillions and trillions of pounds for people.
I think we're all, everybody's agreed, really, that green energy is a business. It's a business, because there are subsidies involved in it. We're all going to have to pay. It's not free electricity at all. So it is but prior to that, the fossil fuel industry was a business. We got our electricity from, across you got it from coal-fired power stations. There used to be town gas before natural gas, town gas.
But what I'm actually saying, Andy, is that we know fossil fuels, we know gas, oil, everything else. We know its quantities now. We've had loads of years of experience of it. I never heard anybody saying, right, we're going to work on filters, better filters, things like this. But just a little bit of diversity. Instead of going down the one track, which is this wind power and solar, excuse me, both of which we've exposed are not green in any way whatsoever. You saw that lake in Mongolia. That lake is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Right? But nobody's doing anything. Let's have a change of direction. We've got 85,000 people on the Isle of Man. Let's look after them first.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for calling today, Eddie. We appreciate that. It's 24 minutes past 12. There are currently lots of adverts for filling in the carers survey, says Ted. That's fine, but 2 years ago, over 700 carers filled in the survey. We now have a carer strategy, but nothing has changed for carers. Yet again, it's paper, it's words, but no delivery of change. There are no new services, there are no improvements to disabled parking, too few dropped curbs, and very little health and welfare support for carers. Carers are an army of people caring for someone. We get a minuscule caring allowance. We do a full-time job, says Ted. Thank you, Ted. I'd heard about that carer survey, and whether or not anything will become of it, well, opinion is divided, let's just say that. But if you are a carer, it's just one of those jobs, and it is a job, it's often a way of life, that to the outside is almost invisible. You have to know the reality of being a carer for somebody to appreciate it. And thank you, Ted. I appreciate you telling us that. Why does everything have to be about attracting new residents, says Mark? It's already quite off-putting for Manx people, local people, to constantly be overlooked. Well, Mark, it's the government plan. It's the island plan. Chief Minister said that for the economy to really keep moving, to get moving, and basically, remember, it's the economy that pays for everything. If the economy is roaring, tax revenues are roaring, public services can be paid for. And that's the theme, that's the idea, is to get 15,000 extra people, a minimum of 4,000 extra workers here, and that's how we're going to move forward. And really a lot of what we're going to do is predicated for the future. It may feel like sometimes that people who are here already are being overlooked, Mark, but how do we get that message through to the government? I think it's not about encouraging single people, says Paul on 715, to come to the Isle of Man. It's about stopping young people leaving. It's worse. That the problems the UK has, either illegal immigration. I'd love to know how many under 25-year-olds have left the Isle of Man in the last few years, says Paul. But then again, Paul, I appreciate the point, but that's always been the case. There was that infamous census that took place, I think it was 1960 or 1961, when the Isle of Man's population dropped to 45,000 people. It was a disaster. It was a calamity. And do you remember everything that used to happen? Do you remember the old winter work schemes when people had to go away in the winter to get some money because everything was predicated on that 13-week visitors season? You had to make your money in 13 weeks in the summer. And if you didn't, well, you were catching rabbits for Christmas dinner. So keeping the population up has always been an issue for the Manx government, and nothing new. It's just that the measure, if you like, has increased. Let's get to the lines again. Brian's with us now. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Andy. This is similar to what Eddie was on about.
Yeah.
Now, how is this government being allowed to force people, and I mean force, people to put these heat pumps in on new properties and build and extensions? How have they got the authority to do this? That crap government in England haven't gone that far, but this government here, as Eddie was saying, thinks it can just walk all over the people of the Isle of Man.
Well, it's part of this net zero plan that they've got for the island.
Yeah, yes, but this zero plan is rubbish, isn't it? We can't have zero plan. We'd all freeze to death. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. This government, the next time we have the elections, which is in 2026, we should throw them all out, and we want to get rid of this green agenda. This green agenda is nowhere. Nobody's doing it in the world. It's only Britain and the Isle of Man.
Do you think, Brian, that any politician's going to stand up in less than 2 years' time, 18 months' time, they'll be popping their heads above the parapet to say, I'm standing on an anti-green agenda? Do you think there'll be any politician who'll do that?
Well, if they want to get elected, I think they should do, yes. It's as simple as that. I mean, we know that this government is determined to have wind turbines on the Isle of Man. They don't care about what the public think. They're determined to have wind turbines. And as far as I can see, you get 25% power from the wind turbines, near enough all the time. That is not enough. But the thing on heat pumps, now this is the most crucial thing. Heat pumps are 4 times less efficient as an ordinary gas or oil boiler. So how can that be any good for people? And don't forget, heat pumps work off electricity. No electricity, there's no heat pumps. So people will freeze. As simple as that. When we get in bad weather. And now, have you noticed the weather this year is just about as it should be? It's been a very cold spring. You've noticed there's been no bees. And that's a major thing. No butterflies. And this is all because the weather has just gone back to normal near enough. So this thing on global warming, this is just a cycle of the Earth. That's all it is. It's not. We don't have global warming. It's just the way it is, and it's been like this for millions of years. I mean, people want to realise this. It's just a way for rich people to get rich. producing things and telling us what's going to happen.
Okay.
That's about as much as I'm going to say.
Appreciate it. Thanks for calling today. Well, home energy efficiency is part of the net zero plan. I mean, home energy efficiency, they're also talking about, well, obviously, taking public transport is part of the net zero agenda. They're talking about eating greener and also recycling. Apart from paper, of course, not paper. David's on now. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. Just want to caution a little bit when the members are coming on or the population come on about corruption. Corruption is a very serious offence. You've got to have something behind that. You can't just say, somebody told me down the pub and whatever like that. Well, the
thing is, I mean, there's different types of corruption. It may be a process that's corrupt. It may be, if you're talking about business corruption or financial corruption, as you say, anybody has, you've got to have your ducks in a row, and you have to have information where that's concerned.
And evidence.
And evidence, of course, yes.
That's the biggest thing, because you know what it's like sometimes. I'm not blaming lawyers, but lawyers will look at things sometimes, or somebody will take a chance and just say, he said this, he said that, and then you're up to your neck in something you don't want to get involved in. But I just wanted to say, you said the other day somebody said something about the thing for the future, when years ago we moved to an extension to the runway. That hasn't caused a catastrophe in the sea. I remember being in the department at the time saying, oh, there'll be no fish in the sea, the crabs won't come, the lobsters won't be there. That's tons of it. I remember the reservoir happening and the stabbards going down the pier. You know, the world is virtually sometimes coming to an end. But it's improved, hasn't it? We've had modern technology. We should be insulating our buildings more. Building regulations should be enhanced more for a northern hemisphere. And I just wondered what's going to happen now. Now David Ashford's moved away, and we've got the housing board. Well, where I think we're not getting anything from the housing board. Who are they? What's their plans? What's their remit? Where do they get all the money from? It's all from government, isn't it? The taxpayers. And there's an issue where we should say these are things on offer, but these are things we won't support, and these are things we will support for the benefit of the community.
There just has to be a more detail, I think, David.
Well, it is, and we've. I never liked the things changing the deck chairs on the Titanic, but I don't know whether they've actually just done that. Let's see what they perform in the next 2 or 3 months there. Don't forget, Andy, we're still waiting from the DOI, and I don't blame the former minister. It's officer-led, isn't it? All these consultations. Remember about heavy goods vehicles?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Camper vans and all things. We all submitted evidence on that, local authorities, and I think that government is taking local authorities, my only personal opinion, you know, they're treating us terrible. You think the population are having a hard time. You want to see some of the things we're having with government departments, don't answer phones. And, you know, when I ring, I don't expect any special privileges. But when you do leave information and telephone calls, you'd expect an answer. Is it yes, or is it no, or is it maybe we can have a chat?
And also, if somebody is a civil servant, if somebody is a public servant, then it's really, I mean, they do need to do their job.
Yeah, and some of them are great. Honestly, I'll tell you a fact. I won't name them because it would embarrass them. Some of them really go an extra mile and tell you. When I rang somebody up and somebody told me a telephone number, and I remember telling you on the radio months ago, it was the wrong. I was given by the social worker the wrong number, and it was a fella in Treasury. I can't remember his name now anyway. But he rang me back and he said, Mr. Quirk, I think you're in the wrong department. You need to go back to social care. Bob on. Bonus. That's what we want in the Isle of Man, communicating with each other.
Okay.
Why do you think we've got phones? And by the way, what are we doing with the phones? Are we going to buy some shares in it or do something?
Nothing's been said yet, has it?
What about the government there? We're supposed to have what they call now the Starship Enterprise or whatever they're called now They're supposed to look after our interests, funding some of the bonds we've got will be maturing maybe sometime in the future. Not the health service bonds, the other bonds they've got in government. We're sitting on a fair wedge of money. I hope the English taxpayers are not listening in there, but we are. So what do we do with it? Why don't we invest in our own companies in the Isle of Man? Copper bottom stuff. And I'll leave it at that. We bought the steam packet, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And we got the profit went to the Treasury as well.
Yeah, and we got 8 million out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have got 11, but somebody should look at that and say, you got 11 a few years ago, why are we not getting more?
All right. Thanks for being with us today.
Ta-ra.
Cheers now, 23 minutes before 1. Any new plans for new buildings seeking Building Control Authority will need to feature greener, low-carbon heating systems. Due to legislative changes, building control authorities will reject new applications for a new building that include the installation of a fossil fuel heating system. Well, that came into effect on the 1st of January this year. This change applies to new builds, and the term new building includes extensions. You'll be affected if you plan to install a fossil fuel boiler, oil tank, gas supply and a new extension. You can connect to an extension to a fossil fuel heating system in the existing part of the building by the installation of new pipework and radiators. But a ban on installing fossil fuel heating systems in new buildings follows next year. Therefore, if you already have building regulation approval, it must be installed before the 1st of January 2025. Is that you scrabbling for the bag of tools? Well, that's that particular system, and heat pumps do work. I mean, it's refrigeration in reverse. They do work, but the whole question of how we are going to be green in the future, I don't know. From what Eddie said, do you think, and remember, the last time we interviewed every candidate for Keys, and only one of them didn't endorsed the green agenda. That was Stu Peters. Stu Peters got elected in Middle. But do you think that's going to happen in 2 years' time? Do you think there'll be politicians who will say, no, I don't endorse the new green agenda? You see, we're on this horse. We have to ride the horse, don't we? You can't change the horses midstream. Or can we? I mean, the cost would be big, wouldn't it? My sons both had bikes stolen years ago at different times. Both were found dumped in hedges days later. One son chained up his Summerland, and when he went back, the front wheel had been stolen, says Liz. How long ago? Well, it's Summerland. It's years ago, isn't it, Liz? Thanks for that. I left school with no GCSEs, went and got a job, worked very hard. Now I've been a homeowner for 2 years. I'm 25. No cash handouts. I just worked hard to buy my own. Social housing should only be for disabled or pensioners. You've got young adults living in these houses having children, and the working population shouldn't have to fund for people who haven't made any effort to live off their own back, says Charlie. We talked about where social housing fits in, whether or not it is a house for life or whether it is a stepping stone to the future. Well, text, email, call and WhatsApp, lots of messages in today, which I'll get to in a few moments' time. And remember that Moreton Hall meeting tonight, 7:30, talking about the permanent closure of Castletown Market Square to vehicles. It's tonight, 7:30 at Moreton Hall in Castletown.
The Loganair Black Friday sale is now on, and it's our biggest discount yet. Fly from the Isle of Man and save up to 20% off over 1 million seats across the Loganair network. Use promo code BF20 when booking. Book by 3rd December, travel from 9th January. T's and C's apply. Offer subject to availability. Exclusions apply. Visit loganair.co.uk. Loganair. Your journey. Our joy.
qplus.co.il. Q Plus is much more than a plumbing and heating trade counter. Come and explore the largest bathroom showroom on the island, where we're always updating our displays and stocking the latest bathroom designs and trends to make sure we have just what you're looking for. Visit Q Plus on Snugborough Trading Estate or find us on Facebook to see some fabulous bathroom inspiration. qplus.co.il.
Sorrel has a special Christmas gift just for you. For the first time ever, there's a discount on our famous candle and perfume making workshops. Book a workshop with family or friends and use the code CHRISTMAS. Discount also applies to vouchers that you can gift to someone special. Don't miss this limited offer. Spaces are filling fast. Book now at sorrel.im to secure your spot and experience the magic of Sorrel this holiday season. Use code CHRISTMAS at the checkout. Merry Christmas from all of us at Sorrel.
Dear Santa, this Christmas I would like more customers and more sales, please. I have been very good.
There are more reliable ways to make sure your business gets what it needs this winter. At Manx Radio, we'll create tailor-made advertising solutions to get you the results you want over the festive season and into the new year. Call our friendly sales team now on 682620 and give your business a really happy Christmas and New Year with the nation station Manx Radio.
Can I have a new bike too?
No, buy your own.
Oh.
I'm Marilyn Crellin and I'd like to welcome you to Shackley.
My name is David Callan and I write poems about the Isle of Man and the human condition.
Tíval, Ben Prince Namara.
She read it and she said, well, at least it's mercifully short.
Today at 5:30, join Marilyn Crellin for Shackley.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
In addition to that meeting at Moreton Hall tonight, there's another chance to have your say on plans to end the discharge of sewage into Laxey Bay. Manx Utilities is hosting public information events this week to showcase the proposal for that new regional sewage treatment plant at Garth. Today's session is on till 7:30 tonight at Baldrine Methodist Church Hall. The plan is to pump the wastewater from Baldrine and Laxey to a new treatment works on the edge of the Axenfeld plantation above the village. The site is a Defamanish plantation and it will be screened on three sides by dense woodland. Have you popped along there, by the way? Did you go yesterday? What did you think of it all? And are you convinced, or have you changed your mind, or, as it were, the corporation and commissioners' houses should be let per head? Says Texter 382, 1 bed for one person, 2 bed for 2 people, no wasted rooms in properties. We need more 1-bed properties, please, and keep our Manx residents safe in their older ages. I was mountain biking, says Greg, in Eristane yesterday, when I came across 3 members of DEFA looking for a downed drone. Apparently there's a £1,000 reward for its return. There was no tracking system on the drone. Somebody's nicked the drone and a £1,000 reward. Thank you, Greg. Good to hear from you. I'm trying to get my children to come to the Isle of Man. Their comment is, it's like an old people's home on sea. I don't agree, but then I'm 53. The Isle of Man needs to be more attractive to younger people. Thank you, 359. Easier said than done, obviously, isn't it? How do you make it more attractive to young people? I agree net zero has gone too far, but the reality is that oil and gas will run out and we need alternatives, says Stevie. And Tom said as well, it's not relevant to the Isle of Man, but coal also had its downside as well. The coal mines made an awful lot of mess. They all had spoil heaps and they caused subsidence. So the fact that nobody's mining coal in Britain surely is a better thing. Yes, take your point. And wasn't this government elected on a green agenda, so they're only doing their job, says Billy. True, if you go back, look at all the manifestos years ago, they were all talking about a green agenda. So they made their decision. They're just sticking to it. Heat pumps do work, says Alan, but the building needs to be designed around them. Most houses have too much heat loss to retrofit heat pumps. I personally would vote for anybody that stands as a candidate for anti-net zero. The UK accounts for 1% of the world's carbon emissions. I thought it was closer to 2%, but never mind, G. Isle of Man population approximately 1,000th of that. Therefore, we literally make no difference whatsoever, especially with China building more coal power stations. It's pointless. It's a money-making scam, says G. I think in the last election, the voting slip, it asked for your most important issue, and the environment was number 1, says 528. Hey, Wilf's with us now. Hi, Wilf.
I was just listening quietly here, and
I heard you mention Laxey sewerage.
Yeah.
I had to go to the community dump out the Bride Road last week, and I couldn't stand it. I had to turn and come back. The smell was terrible. There wasn't a soul about. Everybody was kept away from it. And I've since been told that the farmer next to it, sometimes he can't get out of the house. He's got to stay inside because of the smell, whichever way the wind goes. Anyway, that's beside the point. Laxey, they're going to pump it up the hill, like they're doing in Ramsey, take out the solids, and let the water come back, but it's still grey water. It's still full of chemicals. There hasn't been any mention on the Mannin Line or in the news or anything about taking chemicals out.
Now, you've talked about this. Let's just get this straight, Wilf. You've talked about this many times. This is grey water, and this is because everybody puts Harpic and toilet duct down the toilet.
That's it.
And they don't take the chemicals out of the wastewater.
That's right. That's all they're doing is taking the solids out. And then they take it to in tankers to Maryveg, dry it, and then, the latest thing I believe is took to the incinerator and burnt. It all costs money. It's all a lot of time and all the rest. Now, ordinary sewerage, apart from when it got washed on the beach, didn't do any harm to anything. The gulls got it, the fish got it. Now, there is another way, but that's only my way. Would be to extend all your sewerage piping that actually is in the sea now. You extend it. Take Peel, for instance. If you extended Peel sewer pipe and put it round the corner past the breakwater, you'd have no problems whatsoever. It's gone. And very little cost, I would think. I don't know. And now Laxey, same thing. I don't know where the outfall is in Laxey, but if it could be extended outside the breakwaters, no problem. And no cost, pushing it uphill and downhill and all this nonsense. But that's just my way.
So you'd extend the outflow pipes. I mean, how much further? Half a mile? Few hundred yards?
Wouldn't matter. It would still cost a lot more than a mile up a hill, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, there is that point.
The technology's in today. They can do big plastic stuff now. It doesn't have to be concrete pipes anymore. And the old method was you put the end of your pipe as far out as the lowest tide. Now we've got the technology to go further. Now we've got the diving gear, all the rest. All these things were done in the Victorian times, when we didn't have the diving gear that we got now, and the boats and things to do it. It can be done now. Extend your pipe work. End of story. Because you're not going to take the chemicals out anyway, so you might as well put a lot out. And that will save the gull population and all, and a few more fish. As long as it doesn't come on the beach, what's the problem with it?
Right, okay. So extend the pipes. That's the way to do it then.
Extend the pipes, yeah.
Okay. All right, Wilf, good to hear from you.
Right.
Thanks for calling today. You're on the text and email and WhatsApp. We've got lots of messages in, including... just because government doesn't do as you like doesn't mean it's intrinsically corrupt. Often people have listened to the arguments and have seen the opposite side, but they make up their own minds in the matter. Far too often we hear people who don't know all the facts. How about accepting that people actually do know more than is realised? We're not ignorant. It's a harsh truth to accept that there is another side to things, says 475. Thanks for that point. I'd like to say well done to John Wannenberg. It says James on 623 in his capacity as chairman of Manx Utilities for calling out nonsense claims by Castletown MHKs over the Erie Stain project. A classic case of not in my backyard, says James. Government isn't corrupt. It's simply unimaginative following the herd zero emissions wind turbines, says G. I think when Eddie was talking about corruption, or I think he was talking about corruption of process. I don't think there was any suggestion of financial corruption or anything like that. A process can be corrupt in that it's not. There's no integrity in it. So. But there we are. And going back to the fact that the green agenda is a business. Of course it's a business. But then again, everything in the world is a business.
Hello, this is Doug Farragher. In conjunction with Manx Radio, I'd like to invite you to join us and learn something about our native Gaelic tongue, the language of man.
Love shopping? Finding it difficult to get out and about? You'll love our Shop Mobility Buddies. It's a new incentive set up by Circa to help you get the best out of your Douglas shopping trip. From Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. till 4 p.m, we'll pair you up with a manual or powered wheelchair or mobility scooter, as well as a Shop Mobility Buddy to help with your shopping. For details, click circa.org.im. Sponsored by the Manx Lottery Trust as a delegated partner of the National Lottery Community Fund.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly and much more when you visit Watson's Nurseries this Christmas. Watson's Nurseries for cut and potted Christmas trees including non-drop at great prices, along with decorative festive wreaths and superb gift ideas like trees, fruit trees, large specimen trees and shrubs and gift vouchers. They also stock logs and coals suitable for fires or wood-burning stoves with delivery available. Call 801-812. Find something festive at Watson's Nurseries Greba on the Peel side of Hawthorne Inn.
Hello, Isle of Man. At Co-op, we believe it's wrong to lower prices on things you buy least. So we lower the prices on the things you buy most, as well as giving you other exclusive member benefits. Plus, we now deliver to the whole island, so great deals can be delivered to your doorstep. So join Co-op to become not just a member, but an owner and have your say on how we're run. Co-op, owned by you, right by you. £1 membership fee applies. See full T's and C's at coop.co.uk/terms.
Have you visited Talbot & Sons' new home yet? After more than 30 years in Derby Square, we've moved to Snugborough Trading Estate with stunning new blind and curtain displays, inspiring ideas and the latest technology for your home, along with the same friendly family-run service and expertise you know and love. Visit talbots.im to find out more and come and see us soon.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
That's about 7 minutes before 1. David hit the nail on the head, says Sue on 768, about the lack of communication causing problems. I've traipsed around various departments with the idea that as soon as somebody is diagnosed with something, particularly dementia in my mother's case, then they and the family should be given an information pack about all available support, direct numbers for help and facilities such as day centres, plus where they can go for financial advice and other organisations that can help. My mum is now gone, but total lack of information caused endless unnecessary grief and devastation at the time. It wouldn't cost a fortune, and it could also be online for those who are computer literate. It seems to be common with other conditions too, says Sue. Thank you, Sue. Reinvigorate the Isle of Man space programme as a topical way to waste our funds, says Gaz. Well, we could try, I suppose. How do you calculate how much carbon is in the air? Surely an estimate based on a small sample test, says Des. You do it, Des. We need to look at our preschool education on the Isle of Man. We lost this free provision that is essential for early development. Lots of research recently, again, backing this up, including Princess Kate, promoting the importance of preschool education. We withdrew this. And lagging behind the UK, it's not attractive for young couples and families to move here, as it's not quality teacher-led education. Just another reason why people wouldn't move here, particularly with young children, that free provision of preschool education. Can I just say that pushing the problem and pushing PCBs so it's not our concern just means that we're moving the problem down the road or down the coast in this situation. It doesn't really help, says Robert. Wilf makes a good point, says Eric, about non-treatment of chemicals in bathing areas. IRBCs are second rate. The MUA's new chair, Tim Crookall, should say why that we're reluctant to connect onto the Irish line at Oncombe, perhaps. They could say that the network in Douglas needs sorting out, so South Douglas is pumped via Middle River Pipeline, which is in, as per the original design, leaving the prom pumps for North Douglas and Onken. Crikey, when did Iris arrive? A bit of honesty would go a long way in restoring public confidence, says Eric. Then members could have a sensible debate and help the MUA get their work done sensibly and properly as originally designed. Ignoring the pipeline pump-away option at every avenue is not going to help the MUA gain trust with people who have some understanding of the situation. We need to help and provide the MUA with public support for this work. Tim Crookhall has let his Peel constituency and the residents of Laxey Down connect to the Iris system. These are bathing areas, says Eric. Talking of which, remember that meeting for the sewage treatment is at Baldrine Methodist Church Hall till 7:30, and the public meeting at Morton Hall, Castletown, is at 7:30 as well. That's it. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today. Back open line tomorrow at noon.
WINT.